The same approach I use in the vineyard, I use this in the cellar. So try to work with nature, but with a deep knowledge of all the chemical things and all the chemical process in the way to try to push or to drive the nature in the way you want. So no, with a lot of knowledge, you let the nature do the job for you.
Welcome to the Italian Wine Podcast. This is the next generation with me, McKenna Cassidy. For the next episode, I invite you to explore with me what young adults are up to in the Italian wine scene. Let's feast on our discussion of Italian wine and culture. Grab a glass with us. Chin chin. Good morning. Hello, everyone. I'm McKenna from the Italian Wine Podcast and the Next Generation. And it's my joy today to be joined by Riccardo Baldi. Ciao, Riccardo. Welcome.
Ciao. Thank you so much.
Riccardo's calling us from Staffolo, the town in Ancona and Le Marche region, and he is the winemaker and creator of La Staffa, known for their Verdicchio wines. And today is a great opportunity to learn more about those, and then also about Riccardo as a person who is a role model for many young winemakers and has been doing it for several vintages himself, but he is under 30 years old, so it's pretty awesome. And so just for some background, Riccardo farms 12 hectares of vines in Staffolo. And again, Verdicchio, which is an ancient grape variety, today is a great opportunity for the listeners to go a little bit deeper on the grape and then understand how it grows in Jesi and Metallica, etc., the kind of sub-appellations of this region. So I'll turn it over to you, Riccardo. Would you please just tell us who you are and what you do and about how we're here today?
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Riccardo from La Staffa. We are in Staffolo, that is a tiny village in the area of Castelli di Jesi. The area of Castelli di Jesi is a very particular appellation because we have 25 different villages where we are allowed to produce Verdicchio from Castelli di Jesi appellation. Staffolo with Cupramontana and Montecarotto are the three most important villages for the making of Verdicchio in the denomination of Castelli di Jesi. They are very important because the quality of the wine we made, but also because in terms of history, these three villages are the villages where we have more story of winemaking. Staffolo is a particular village also because we have 20 wineries in a town in a village of only 2,000 people. So almost everyone are involved in the wine business. And the area of Staffolo is very rich of tiny artisanal company. My family used to make wine like his hobby in the past, my father and my uncle before to my father. And my history is not very close. When I was a child, I was not so involved in the wine business or in the idea of making wine in the future. But little by little, I felt in love with the idea of making wine, also because I grew up in this town where everywhere you are surrounded by vineyard and wine and wineries. And when I was 19, my father was very busy in his main job. So when I was 19, I did the harvest almost alone, helped my father, but almost alone. And I felt in love with the idea to make my own wine. So from vintage 2010, I started to make my wines. I took over the couple of hectares of vineyard my father used to have at the time, and I found my company. Little by little, I grow as a winemaker in terms of knowledge. I start to read a lot. I start the university studying economic science, so nothing related to winemaking, but I fell in love with the idea, and so I start to study a lot and start to have a close relationship with a couple of very important winemakers in the area. That the most important was Lucio Canestrari from Fattoria Coroncino, that was my mentor. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2021, but I had to say thank you to him a lot because it really helped me to be more precise and more close to the area where we are. The village of Staffolo is a place where we have clay limestone soil, but the most important characteristic of my village is to have a lot of calcium carbonate. And this characteristic is something that belongs only to a half of Staffolo and a half of Cupramontana, because we have a kind of soil that when the hill come up from the ocean, from the sea, a little piece of land between Staffolo and Coppola Montana totally flipped over. So in the surface, we have a soil that is 4 million years older compared to the rest of the denomination. And for this reason, we have a lot of calcium carbonate that in the wine we made, all the area of Staffolo, half of Staffolo and half of Coppola Montana, you can find this very beautiful, salty, citricous minerality. And I always say that is the signature, this kind of minerality is the signature of, is the trademark of Verdicchio from Staffolo.
This is awesome. If I remember correctly, the chemical balance of calcium carbonate, it raises the pH, I believe, in the soil, which thus lowers the pH in the resulting
In the wine.
grapes.
Yeah.
So you're looking at kind of a higher acidity, complexity, and intensity.
Yeah.
And I know your wines are known for that too. You work with several specific clones, I believe, for like the Rincrona wine, and then also the Selva di Sotto. You're using concrete to kind of bring about this wealthy texture. And your wines are known, I mean, we have a ton of fans of your wine just in Chicago alone, but anyone listening who hasn't had La Staffa, like, this is just a brilliant example of Verdicchio, and the different like wines that Riccardo makes express something specific about the Verdicchio itself. So yeah,
the idea was since the beginning. When I started, the wine world was very different compared to today. We were at the beginning of the revolution of natural wines. To be organic at the time was something very weird, very strange, very new as well. And so when I started, I realized very quick that if we want to do something cool and something important, we have to start to understand more than we can the tasting and the most important characteristics of our terroir in the way to make something that is very unique and very distinctive, because it's the expression of only a piece of land. Obviously, it's very easy to say, a little bit more difficult to make, and for sure you have to have something unique in terms of terroir, because you know, nowadays we are able to make very good wine almost everywhere in the world, but at the same time there is only one Burgundy, there is only one Jura, there is only one Lelange, no? So some specific characteristic belong only to some very unique area. And Castelli di Jesi is for sure one of these very huge, beautiful area for the quality of the soil composition. The only things we need is to tell more to our customers about our area. We are at the beginning of this process, in my opinion. And so the idea was to focus ourselves in the training of the vineyard in the way to let them able to reflect the quality of the soil in the glass, and work with a lot of microvinification from all our different plots in the way to have different shades of Verdicchio and different tasting of Verdicchio, because the soil change a lot. We are in a hilly area where we have vineyard between 400 and 500 meters above the sea. So also in terms of maturation, we have a lot of differences. And the use of concrete tanks, to make wine in concrete tanks, first of all, it is very historical in the area of Castelli di Jesi. Concrete tanks were here since the beginning of maybe 200 years ago. I have some friends that make wine in very, very old cellars built at the beginning of 20th century, and they have concrete tanks built inside the cellar at that time. Second reason, concrete tanks is a kind of tank that is perfect for Verdicchio, because Verdicchio is a white, very serious white wine that has a very beautiful relationship with his own lees. So the aging on the lees for Verdicchio is very important. Thanks to a concrete tanks, you have a very beautiful environment where to age the wine during the aging process on the lees, but most important, the shape of our tank. We have no hex, we have the square roll tanks. So the bottom of the tank is totally flat and it's very wide, very large. So you have a biggest surface of contact between the lees and the wine up to the lees. Yeah. And it makes a lot of difference when you age a Verdicchio for 10 months, 1 year on the lees, if you made the same aging in concrete tanks or steel tanks. Concrete tanks, you have more relationship between the lees and the wine, and you have more complexity, and you can have a beautiful texture in the wine. So for this reason, I love concrete tanks. And to answer to your question, Rincroc and Selva di Sotto are two single vineyard selection because working in this way, trying to understand the terroir, made us able, after years, to understand that some of our plots were more important compared to the other or more complex compared to others. So I decided during these 15 years, to made a couple of single vineyard selection because a couple of our vineyards are really distinctive and really unique compared to all the other one we have.
That's really well said. It sounds like you have the freedom now to kind of embrace this tradition of using the concrete tanks and also distinguishing amongst single vineyards. Is there any like innovations that you're working on or excited to work on in the future that kind of incorporate with this tradition to move the winemaking forward? Or do you find yourself like really dwelling on what has worked traditionally and using that?
Is always something very interesting and difficult to explain because when you talk about tradition, sometimes tradition seems like something close in a box that you are not able to change. And look at the tradition in this way, in my opinion, is a big mistake because tradition is always something that change, maybe a little bit slower compared to the rest. But what is traditional now was not traditional 100 years ago. So I always like to say that my idea of winemaking is a neoclassical way of winemaking. It is like neoclassical architecture. So at the time in the 18th centuries, they fell in love with the Roman and Greek architecture. They take inspiration and reinvent something that was helpful for the moment of history where they were living. And the same today. We have to work with the idea of the tradition, with the tasting of the real Verdicchio, but at the same time to try to make it work with this moment of history. So it means that in the past they like to have very round and alcoholic Verdicchio. And now we like to have a little bit more vibrant and with less alcohol inside our wines. So we take the tasting of the real Verdicchio. We try to work in the way to have a real tasting, but at the same time changing a little bit the tradition compared to the past. This is my idea. And in terms of winemaking, I'm very happy with what we are doing now. But at the same time, if you want to continue to work well in agriculture and winemaking, you have never to stop to try new things and to open your mind and try to understand how to deal with new problems. In this moment, I'm very focused in the vineyard in terms of experimenting new things. The way we train the soil is very, very important because we are losing in this moment of history a lot of nitrogen because the mistake we did in the last 50 years and a lot of way of agriculture are not so well for the future. So we are studying a lot how to work better the soil or not work the soil and increase naturally the nitrogen. And at the same time,
so how do you do that? How would you take us to the vineyard and how does that work?
We are in a hilly area and it's very important to take care about the soil. And so in the past, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I start to work a little bit the soil after the harvest in the way to help the rain from the winter to go deep inside the soil. And at the same time, also to plant fava beans and other kind of beans that increase the quantity of nitrogen in a natural way in the soil. And also at the same time to break a little bit the most superficial roots of the vineyards, because when you cut the superficial roots, you force the roots to go down in the soil. So the idea is to have a more balanced vineyard. But the problem is when you broke the soil, you increase the nitrogen and then you lost the nitrogen, because if you flipped over the soil, we were not flipped totally over the soil, but a little bit you flipped over the soil. So if you flipped over the soil, you lost the nitrogen that you increased the year before. So it doesn't make any sense. So I start to ask this question to myself and I start to travel and see if the other winemaker has the same problem or idea. And I discover a new kind of very easy machine that move the soil just up and down without break it. And so you can have less compact soil with the water inside, etc., without flipped over them. But
Yes.
plus, we are buying a new machine that we can put the fava beans without move the soil. So a kind of
Okay.
a machine that you can use to plant the soil in the way to have in the middle of the line, not the normal grass, but to have a very specific kind of seeds that you choose parcel after parcel in the way to increase and to control in a more natural way the kind of grass you have and the quantity of nitrogen in the soil without lost nitrogen because you flipped over the soil.
This is awesome. And this is all part of your organic farming methods, using the nature to bring out the very best of the vines and
Yeah,
grapes.
same in the cellar. The idea, when I start to make wine, it was the moment of the revolution of natural wine. And I remember that I really travel a lot to natural wine fair, etc., etc. And at the time, the idea was for a lot of winemakers, I don't do nothing. I want to make wine a natural way. And in my opinion, it means that you adjust to crush the boundaries. And in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense because if there is something in agriculture that was think and was studied since the Greek or the Roman Empire was wine is the only product in agriculture that we always, generation after generation, try to do it in a better way. And now we arrive in this moment of history and say, oh, we don't, I don't need to know nothing because nature make everything. It's not natural wine, it's a random wine. One year is good, one year is
Yeah.
not. And the same approach I use in the vineyard, I use this in the cellar. So try to work with nature, but with a deep knowledge of all the chemical things and all the chemical process in the way to try to push or to drive the nature in the way you want.
Mm.
So no, with a lot of knowledge, you let the nature do the job for you. So fermentation with native yeast, aging with the lees.
Sure.
Thanks to the lees, we are able to absorb a lot of oxygen from the wine, so we can age the wine without add any sulfites until the moment of the bottling. But it's all a lot of different shades of the same idea, working very well to have a very quality wine and to use the nature as your not as your enemy, but as a help for you, something that help you.
Absolutely. So when you're traveling and you're tasting your wines and you notice that the consumers are younger, you are engaging like the new friends of wine, or
Mhm.
people learning about wine, or the next generation, what's the reaction? And do you think that the style of La Staffa is really a great one? The lower alcohol, the organics, the acidity, the electricity in the
Yeah,
wines seems to be a great style that's very attractive to drinkers of
it
wine.
is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's in my opinion, it's a very particular moment of for the wine business in this now. The young generation really love my wines normally. So and also older generation, but in a different way, because older generation love more or very alcoholic wines in general, or very easy to drink white wines. And my wines are not a lot of alcohol, but they are not easy wines. They are very serious white wines. Also, the Verdicchio and Staffa, that is our entry level, is a wine that we release after 12, 18 months of aging. So it's a white wine with a beautiful body and a beautiful complexity. And for young generation, is more my style. I understand that the style of wine that I love and that my terroir made is the kind of style people want to drink right now. In my opinion, we are facing a big changing from people that drink majority of red wines to people that drink majority of white wines. And people that used to drink a lot of red wines, when they move to white wines, they want to have something complex, round. I don't want to say round, but with texture, and not some very, 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 very easy white wine that we normally drink in the past. And for this reason, in my opinion, Verdicchio is the best, is the perfect kind of white wine because it's a white wine, very versatile, and also when it is very young, is always round and rich and complex. So it's
You can also age it for a long time,
yeah,
even though some people, you'll drink it young, you can drink it old. I know that Ian
totally.
D'Agata wrote that Verdicchio is one of Italy's greatest white grapes and
Yeah.
the wines made. I just enjoyed La Staffa playing cards on the rooftop last weekend, and it was the perfect
Cool, thank you.
have a snack, have a glass of white wine, play. It was really really perfect
Yeah,
little moment.
also because the kind of acidity and saltiness we have
Yes,
in here, is perfect for the kind of situation you describe because the acidity refresh you, the
it really
saltiness clean your palate and make you salivate, so make you more
it really
thirsty
does. Yeah,
to have another sip.
it's
So
pretty
perfect.
awesome. It's amazing, and that it's just made so purely is awesome. I'm also jealous for all the listeners who can't see, but Ricardo, he's 7 hours ahead of me, and he gets to interview with a glass of wine. So I will be joining him soon. Okay, Ricardo, let's move into our rapid fire questions, and this is an opportunity for us to get to know you more as a person. So, what do you do for fun when you're not making wine?
It's fun to reply to this question because I don't want to sound weird, but in the last 15 years, I work 6 days a week, 9 hours a day, so not a lot of
You're
fun.
always making wine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but to answer, I love to read. I don't have a lot of time to do it, but when I have time, I do it. I love to read books, not only in wine, but more like biography of important person, politician, or economist, or entrepreneurs. And I love to travel. I always travel thanks to my job, but it's totally different kind of traveling. When you are
Right.
around and you are more relaxed, you have more time to look
More
around you.
leisure. Of
Yeah,
course.
yeah.
So, what's
So
your
yes.
favorite restaurant in your hometown?
Le Marche is a very particular region because it's a little bit unknown, but we
Yeah.
are very jealous to be unknown because we live I always say that Le Marche is the real country life of Italy because it looks like Tuscany in terms of, so maybe people that listen our podcast know more Tuscany in terms of environment. So
Yep.
round hills, a lot of agriculture, olive trees, vineyard, a lot of free fields, but is totally untourist. So all the villages, like in Castelli di Jesi, 25 villages are 25 medieval castles. 2,000, 1,000 people that live in these villages. Everything is very quiet, very peaceful. So it's like you can really live a slow life in a beautiful, outstanding environment. And
Mm.
so, one of the most important things of Le Marche is also restaurants. We have a very, very, very high level of restaurants. My favorite is, I have to give you two different names. In Senigallia, Senigallia is a city, 40,000 people in the seaside of Ancona, 40 minutes far away from my cellar. Senigallia is a place full of restaurants. In Senigallia, we have a three Michelin star restaurant and a two Michelin star restaurant in a city of 40,000 people. So one of the two, Uliassi, is my favorite restaurant. It's a three Michelin star restaurant. And also, in the opposite side, a very beautiful trattoria that is called Vino e Cibo, the real trattoria, seaside trattoria that I really, really love them. It's a very tiny place, 40 seats, 45 seats. Everything is made with huge quality fish and vegetables. So yeah, I really suggest to everyone to go to Uliassi for fine dining
Uh huh.
or Vino e Cibo for an amazing good trattoria.
Beautiful. Okay, if you could swap lives with any fictional character, who would it be? I know you're reading nonfiction in your free time, but
No, if I had to be someone else, I told you I start to study economic science. So
yeah,
Warren Buffett is
nice.
a person, is a man that I really, really, really love, but not because of money. Also because if you know his philosophy, he doesn't care about wealth or spend money stupid things. But I really love his perseverance
Perseverance.
Yeah, perseverance. He's very smart. He's very patient, and I love his view in the long run. And in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense if you say the same in the wine business. We make something that normally needs years to be good. When we plant a new vineyard, we start to harvest grapes after 3, 4 years. So it's something that you have to think and to build very slowly, and you have to be very patient. And so his view in the Warren Buffett view in stock picking and investment is, in my opinion, is the same a winemaker has to have in this world of winemaking, where everyone wants to start to make wine now and be famous tomorrow. But to be good as a winemaker, to make something important, you have to say, you have to think 20 years
Yeah.
from now. And it makes very, in my opinion, he's a great guy, a great person. And if I had to say someone for just
Yeah.
one day, for sure him. Also
It's good.
because, yeah, it makes sense a lot. The motto of my company is a Roman way of saying, is a Latin way of saying, is gutta cavat lapidem. The translation in English is the drop digs the rock. It's like, it's a very old
One
way
little
of, yeah.
drop at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Roman way of saying that totally makes sense in the wine business, in my opinion. If you want to make something important and quality, you have to do
Absolutely.
the correct choice every day for 10 years, and then someone will understand you and say, "Oh, this guy was doing the correct thing, so now he makes good wine because in the last 10 years he always try to make the correct decision."
Perfect. Okay, we have time for one more question.
Yeah.
I know I gave you the last two questions. Which one would you like to answer?
I don't know, the invention or the
Yeah, which one do you want to answer?
I don't know how to say it in English. The invention, the teletrasporto.
Oh, like you want to teleport. Okay,
Yeah,
so for the listeners, so my question to Riccardo is what's one invention you wish
yeah.
existed right now, no matter how wild or unrealistic? And his answer is to teleport. You want to,
Teleport,
or
yeah.
if we were to reference the great Harry Potter books, to apparate from place to place like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Is that
I
what you
think,
think? Yeah.
yeah, I think if you ask the same to 90% of people in the world,
And they'd be like,
everyone,
I
same,
just want
same
to
answer.
teleport. Yeah.
You know,
Move in and out of time, before, behind, all of it.
yeah, but also in the same line of time, it doesn't matter. But you can do a lot of different things because you are so productive. Every 5 minutes,
So
you
true.
can be yeah, you can be
Boom,
everywhere.
boom, 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 boom. With so many things to do, teleportation would be.
Yeah,
Then you could work for only 8 hours a day, Riccardo, and still get
yeah,
the same amount of stuff done. And have an
yeah.
hour to go on a run or something. That's awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing so
So
much
much.
of yourself about your winery, your projects, your colleagues during this time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners so that they can know your wines all the more? I think I do want to say that anyone who hasn't had the wines we're talking about yet, find them ASAP. They'll truly
Thank you.
just broaden your understanding of Italian white wine. They really are a fantastic example of Verdicchio, a grape that I know in the US we don't call for as often as we could and should. And so
Mhm.
drink them as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I invite everyone to visit Le Marche because it's a very beautiful and unknown region, and is the place on earth where you can really you are able to choose the speed of your life. You can live a very very fast life, or at the same time you can live a very slow life and enjoy the moment. And also, I want to suggest to everyone to start to study more about Verdicchio and to drink more Verdicchios because they are the white wine of the moment, in my opinion, in terms of shape of white wines. I really trust in this. I trust in the quality of Verdicchio since the beginning, obviously, but I really trust that in this moment of history, the Verdicchio is the kind of white wine people really like to drink. Maybe sometimes they don't know they don't know that the Verdicchio is this kind of wine, but if they start to drink it, they will feel it love for sure.
Yeah, Heard that. Amen. Thank you. Well, thank you
Thank
again
you
so
so much.
much. And cheers. We can't wait to listen back. Cheers.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Tante grazie. Thanks so much for being here with me today. Remember to catch our episodes weekly on the Italian Wine Podcast, available everywhere you get your pods. Salute.